The Danfoss ET5050 is a programmable serial production crimp machine with state-of-the-art crimp technology featuring touchscreen operation. It is preloaded with Danfoss crimp specifications for virtually the entire portfolio of Danfoss hose and combinations of flat crimp fitting designs. The machine is capable of crimping up to 4-inch ID as applicable to the following hose types: thermoplastic, Teflon, air conditioning, textile braid, and 1- and 2-wire braid, up to 2-inch ID in 4- and 6-spiral wire hose, and up to 6-inch ID in select industrial hose and fitting combinations. The ET5050 was designed to offer serial production capability, safety, ease of use, improved ergonomics, crimp repeatability, and durability. The ET5050 is a freestanding machine requiring no special mounting. The electronic controls found on this machine have simplified all aspects of the crimping process. Settings to crimp your most popular hose styles have been programmed into electronic presets on the display panel. This process reduces the steps and time it takes to complete a job. Optional automatic and manual backstops and a faster crimp cycle make the ET5050 an ideal machine for serial production. The optional ET5050 foot switch allows the operator to use both hands to control large hose assemblies during crimping. Before operation of the machine, please review important safety instructions outlined in the operator's manual and in the safety section of the ET5050 operating instructions video. Always follow the outlined process and product instructions to ensure a safe and properly crimped hose assembly. Observe Danfoss's fitting tolerances for all Danfoss hoses and hose fittings. Do not use Danfoss hose fittings on hoses from other manufacturers. This video will explain the proper procedure for crimping a hose assembly. However, you should always read the operator's manual thoroughly before operating this or any other Danfoss crimp equipment. The operator's manual is the best source for information on the operation and maintenance of the ET5050 crimp machine. It covers safety instructions, machine setup and installation, operation, tooling definition, menu settings and details, maintenance, and accessories. Before using the ET5050, it is imperative that you read the important safety instructions located in the operator's manual. And always pay attention to the safety decals on the ET5050. During the crimp operation, always ensure that your hands are at an adequate safety distance of 4.75 inches or 120 millimeters from the crimping tool and clear of all moving parts at all times. Never let anyone operate the ET5050 that has not been properly trained or read the operator's manual. Never allow 2 or more people to operate the machine at the same time. Use care when handling the dies and use only the Danfoss approved quick die change tool, referred to as the QDC tool, to install or replace dies. After receiving the ET5050 shipping crate, inspect the crate for any external signs of damage prior to lifting. If damage is evident, contact your Danfoss representative immediately. The ET5050 weighs 1,850 pounds or 840 kilograms and should be moved and installed using an appropriately rated forklift only. Refer to the operator's manual for machine installation instructions, height adjustment, electrical connection required, and to fill the hydraulic reservoir. Prior to any move, identify lift points on the machine. Lifting at these lift points, ensure that the load is evenly distributed on the forklift. Always position the front of the ET5050 close to the front wheels of the forklift. The machine should be installed indoors on a level surface and operated in a clean, dry environment under normal atmospheric pressure. Avoid high humidity and dusty environments. Please note that the machine is shipped without hydraulic fluid. Remove the oil cap on the top rear of the machine and fill the reservoir with approximately 26 gallons or 100 liters of AW46, ISO 46 hydraulic fluid. Replace the vented oil filler cap when the correct oil level is reached and verified with the oil sight glass. The oil should be at the center of the fill level indicator. After filling or changing the hydraulic oil, the hydraulic system needs to be manually cycled under a no-load condition to remove air from the hydraulic lines before production use. Refer to the operator's manual or the manual mode section of the operating video for instructions on manually cycling the ET5050. The ET5050 is available in 6 voltage options, and the machine is factory set to customer electrical supply requirements, as noted on the tag attached to the electrical disconnect. The machine is supplied with a 12-foot electrical pigtail that will require wiring to a customer-supplied plug or service by a qualified electrician. Hose preparation. Before we make an actual hose assembly, let's review some basic procedures. We will start with the proper hose and hose fitting selection. Always refer to the applicable Danfoss hose catalog for the proper Danfoss series of hose and hose fittings. Be sure that the hose and hose fittings you select are components designed and approved for the type of application for which the hose assembly is being used. The first step is measuring and then cutting the hose to the proper length. Remember, the overall length of the hose assembly includes the hose fittings, and you must allow for this additional length before cutting the hose. The cutoff factors for hose fittings are found in the applicable Danfoss hose and hose fittings catalog. Be sure the cut is both square and clean. To ensure that the hose is fully inserted into the fitting, mark the hose from the end to a length equal to the scribe line on the fitting socket. Now insert the hose into the fitting up to the mark. Be sure that the end of the hose is fully inserted into the fitting. This is necessary to ensure a proper crimp. Calibration of the ET5050 ensures that the machine produces accurate and repeatable crimp diameters. Calibration is required to be performed after the first installation of the ET5050 before any crimping operation. It is also recommended that the ET5050 is calibrated annually or if the resulting crimps are consistently inaccurate. Calibration settings are available within the ET5050 settings menu and requires ET5040DC M320S dies. After powering on the machine, log in by selecting the user login icon. If users have not been set up on the machine, use the default username and password identified in the operator's manual. After entering the username and password, press the check icon on the screen. Now select the Settings icon and navigate the setting menu using the arrow icon. The calibration option is the 8th menu option. Confirm that the ET5040DC M320S dies are installed. If no dies are installed, or if the incorrect dies are installed, refer to the appropriate die removal and installation steps detailed in the manual and the ET5050 video. Identify and insert the small diameter end of the ET5040C0019 mandrel tool into the ET5040DC M320S cavity. Press the motor on button to start and advance the crimper head until the white light is no longer illuminated. Retract the crimper head and insert the large diameter end of the mandrel into the die cavity. Press the motor on button to start and advance the crimper head until the white light is no longer illuminated. Fully retract the crimper head and remove the mandrel. The display screen will now indicate that the calibration was successful. The ET5050 is now calibrated and ready to perform accurate and repeatable crimps. The ET5050 shares the same dies as the ET5040 and utilizes two types of dies, standard and large bore. ET5050 standard dies are dies which include ET5040DC in their name string. The standard dies use the ET5040C0001 adapter dies and can be installed and removed with the Quick Die Change or QDC tool. ET5040C0001 adapter die segments should be installed prior to installing any standard board dies. Align and insert the 8 pins of the QDC tool with the holes in front of the desired crimp dies in the storage rack. Rotate the handle clockwise and remove the desired standard dies from the storage rack. Position the QDC tool with the standard dies in the center of the crimp head. Make sure the holding pins are aligned with the bore holes in the adapter dies and gradually close the crimp head while confirming all 8 pins are aligned. Remove the QDC tool and retract the crimp head. Confirm the standard dies are secure. Then press the check button to acknowledge installation of correct tooling for the application. To remove the standard bore dies, when prompted to make a tooling change, close the head to the QDC position. The head will stop and the tooling close button will no longer illuminate when in QDC position. Align the 8 pins on the QDC tool with the holes on the crimp dies. Insert the pins fully into the crimp dies until the magnets are fully seated. Gradually retract the crimp head completely until the crimp die holding pins have completely disengaged from the intermediate dies. Place the crimp dies into the storage rack and rotate the QDC to the left, counterclockwise, to lock the die segments into the storage rack. ET5050 large bore dies are dies which include ET5040 PBL in their name string. The large bore dies do not require the ET5040C0001 adapter dies and are installed directly into the crimp head as individual die segments. To install the ET5040C0001 adapter dies or large bore dies, retract the crimp head completely. The sight holes should be exposed and accessible. Turn off the machine using the main switch. Insert and hold a die key in the die key hole. Insert the corresponding die segment while holding the key in the hole. Release the pressure on the die key. This die should now be securely connected. Repeat the same procedure for each die segment. Upon completion, restart the machine. To remove the ET5040C0001 adapter dies, or large bore dies, partially open the crimp head, leaving sight holes exposed. Turn off the machine on the main switch. To remove the crimp dies, hold the crimp die to be changed in one hand. With the other hand, push and hold the die key into borehole A in the base die C. Remove the die and release the pressure on holding pin A by pulling out the die key. Remove the remaining die segments using the same procedure. Restart the machine. Operating instructions. The ET5050 can be operated using two different modes. Auto mode, where pre-programmed Danfoss factory crimp settings can be automatically selected by choosing the hose and fitting types from the menu. And manual mode, where the operator can manually perform crimp operations and store crimp settings for later use. Crimp selections. Auto mode. Follow all machine setup settings and calibration steps found in the operator's manual prior to initial use of the machine. Upon powering on the machine, log in by selecting the user login icon. If users have not been set up on the machine, use the default username and password identified in the operator's manual. After entering the username and password, press the check icon to enter. Now select Crimp Selections for Danfoss Factory Pre-Populated Crimp Operation. To illustrate the factory crimp selection process, we will walk through the process to build an AeroQuip GH781 16 size hose assembly with global TTC fittings. Begin by selecting the desired product line. In this demonstration, we will select AeroQuip. Note the star-shaped favorites icon on the screen. You can set up this hose and hose fitting combination as a favorite going forward for streamlined hose assembly processing. We will illustrate adding and accessing GH781 16 with the TTC fitting as a favorite in a moment. GH781 can be selected by either picking through the Master List drop-down or keying in the name. To pick from the Master List, use the scroll bar on the right side of the screen. Make the selection by touching GH781, then press the check mark. Or to key in the name, touch the filter box on the left. A keypad will pop up. Type in GH781 and press the check mark. The keypad will disappear, and GH781 will exclusively populate the list on the right. Press the check mark at right to confirm. The screen will prompt you to select the hose dash size. Press the down arrow to find -16 and select. Select fitting type by pressing the down arrow to find Global TTC Crimp. Press the checkmark icon to finish the selection process. Review the part number engraved in the exposed face of each die segment to identify the correct dies. Replace the current dies by following the appropriate die removal and installation steps detailed in the operator's manual and the ET5050 video. Remove and replace the current dies if they are not the ones specified for the GH781 crimp ET5040DC M370S. Pressing the checkmark will acknowledge the correct dies are installed and route the operator to the crimp operation screen. The primary numeric crimp specifications, diameter, ovality, and position and respective tolerances are displayed on the left. Supporting text can be found on the right. All images that illustrate the crimp specifications can also be found by selecting the question mark icon. Operators can toggle through multiple images if they exist, with the arrows. To set the ET5050 to open the tooling automatically after crimping, touch the triangle icon. A green triangle notifies operators of an auto-retracting of crimper head. If the button is red and white, the operator will have to press and hold the retract button until the assembly is free to move. With the appropriate tooling installed, insert the assembly into the crimp head with hands and all body parts clear of the crimp area. Locate the fitting to the correct position by direct sight. Use of the mirror or use of a backstop. Make sure all hands and other body parts maintain a 4.75-inch or 120 mm clearance from moving parts. Press the illuminated tooling close button to crimp the fitting onto the hose. Once the crimp is complete, remove the assembly for review. If manual open is selected, remove the assembly by manually retracting the crimper head. Measure the socket to verify the achieved crimp diameter. Here, the diameter is 0.004 inches smaller than the required crimp specification. The machine crimp setting will need to be adjusted. To correct the size, select the offset icon and key in the exact numeric correction value as a positive value. Positive values will produce a larger crimp. This new value is now automatically stored for future crimps for this hose and fitting combination. A repeat of the crimp shows our settings are correct and ready for use. To add the GH78116 Global TTC assembly as a favorite, press the Star Plus icon. A pop-up will show on the screen to acknowledge the successful addition. To access the favorites list, select the star icon on any screen where it is present. The complete list of the favorite hose and hose fitting combinations will display for direct selection. Crimp selections, manual mode. The manual mode is used for user-defined crimping. Upon powering on the machine, log in by selecting the User Login icon. If users have not been set up on the machine, use the default username and password identified in the operator's manual. After entering the username and password, press the check icon to enter. Now select Manual Operation for manual operation. In manual operation, the user must input the crimp specifications and may save to a user-specified name. Procure the appropriate crimp specifications, tolerances, and build information from the appropriate source. To begin, key in the nominal crimp dimensions after selecting the crimp diameter icon. The ET5050 will select the closest die to your defined diameter and then populate the information at the die icon. Locate the machine-suggested die by reviewing the part number engraved in the exposed face of each die segment. To name the new crimp settings, select the floppy disk icon, key in your desired name, and press the check mark. If auto retraction is desired, select the opening diameter icon, key in the desired opening diameter, and press the check mark. Set the closed dwell time prior to opening by selecting the clock icon, keying in the time, and press the check mark. Finally, touch the triangle icon to turn green and enable auto retraction. It is good practice to verify the switching point of the crimper from travel speed to crimping speed. To do so, select the double arrow icon to move to the switching point screen. Note the diameter at which the crimp machine switches speeds. Measure the uncrimped diameter of the fitting to make sure it is smaller than the switching diameter. Adjust if necessary. At this point, we are ready to begin a tooling verification and crimping sequence. If no dies are installed, or if the incorrect dies are installed, select the QDC icon to begin the die change sequence. The display will indicate the proper die to install and the correct installation tool. Follow the appropriate die removal and installation steps detailed in the manual and the ET5050 video. Once the correct dies are installed, position the fitting for proper crimp location by sight. Due to the size of the hose assembly here, the operator uses two hands to control the assembly in the machine and uses the foot pedal for machine operation. Make sure all hands and other body parts maintain a 4.7-inch clearance from moving parts. Press the illuminated tooling close button to crimp the fitting onto the hose. Once the crimp is complete, remove the assembly for inspection. If corrections are needed, command an offset just as in auto mode. ET5050 is a serial production crimper designed to operate with minimal maintenance. To ensure optimal performance, please follow all outlined maintenance procedures in the operator's manual and in this video. Please note that the ET5050 is not a field serviceable machine. For issues beyond the disclosed maintenance procedures, please contact your regional Danfoss representative. For reliable operation, ensure that the crimp head assembly is free of debris and the detent pins are not damaged. The hydraulic circuits are not leaking and air bubbles are absent. If error is present in the circuit, then bleed the system as instructed in the operator's manual. The AW46 hydraulic oil is clean and sufficient oil is present. If the hydraulic oil shows contaminants, then replace the hydraulic oil and the filter. Calibrate the machine at least once a year. All ET5050s ship with the most up-to-date programming available at the time of shipment. ET5050 programming is updated frequently to include crimp specifications for newer Danfoss hoses and fittings. Notifications of programming updates will be provided via announcement in our monthly newsletter and will be available on danfosscrimpersupport.com. In addition to programming updates, download instructions and update instructions are also available at danfosscrimpersupport.com. After downloading updates, store a copy of the files on the Danfoss USB storage device that was provided with the ET5050 machine. Please use only Danfoss-provided USB storage devices. After inserting the USB storage device, format the device to FAT32 format. Do not utilize the Quick Format option. From the main operator screen, select the settings icon in the bottom right corner. Enter your username and password to access settings screens. Use the scroll icon to scroll through the settings screens to the software update screen. Insert the USB flash drive into the port on the rear of the controller. Press the on-screen download icon to start the download process. When complete, an image with a green thumb will pop up on the screen. Select the check mark to acknowledge. Exit the settings menu. One final reminder: safety should never be compromised under any circumstances. Make sure the unit is properly positioned before use and follow all safety procedures outlined in this video and in the manual when the machine is being operated. By following the proper setup and operating instructions, you can make dependable Danfoss hose assemblies every time using the ET5050 crimp machine. If there is a problem, or if you have any questions, consult the crimping procedures found in the ET5050 operator's manual or contact Danfoss Technical Support. Crimp with confidence. Connect with Danfoss.